like I said, with I think this, I think this is where I was. Okay, with this dynamic here, like I said, they're more likely to beat it into you or do it in a more power driven and controlled type of way. And these guys are big on control, big time. And like I said, it's it's like that because I'll put the ESTP stack here as well. I'll put the ESTP stack here and I'll break those guys down. So we have, I guess I can get rid of this now. And I can bring this higher. So my subconscious, and I forgot to write it this way on the other one, but yes, this is how it works. If you ask me, the fourth function is the line from that separates the shadow from the ego. I mean, that's in my study. I've never seen any other human or MBTI scholar break this dynamic down or discover this. Not one, but me. So we got that, and then we have the SI here, as this is the ISTJ. Okay. Okay. So with these guys, like I said, their FI is in the shadow as well. Okay. It's seventh. It's their blind spot. Okay. It's their blind spot. So to them, like I said, it goes back to the unawakened FI, the abandonment issues, the self worth issues, the insecurities are very much at play. The lower your FI is, the worse those characteristics you have deep inside of you. See, like with the ISFJ or ISTJ, it's sixth, but with the ESTP or the ESFP, it's seventh. Okay, so it's a little worse. So these guys have it a little more. So how does that play into this dynamic? Well, that's the whole reason for this power dynamic in the first place, because they feel, and I hope y'all are ready for this. They feel, and unconsciously, this is unconsciously, it is the only way they can keep people in their lives. And I hope you just heard me. Unconsciously, it's the only way they can keep people in their lives by this. They have to control every situation. And like I said, it also works with this guy, eighth NE. So, like I said, this isn't pre-K MBTI school here. If your NE, if your NE is fourth and below, you like there's fear, fear of consequences. You know, like for example, like you have to, like the ESTP has to keep their thumb on top of someone's neck for control to keep them in their life. They have to gaslight all these things because they feel they have to, because the minute they let their thumb off and release control, that person's going to dart for the hills. They're going to run away and they're never going to see him again. And like I said, they can't have that. And that's what they fear the most. Shadow FI doesn't want to be alone. Shadow FI, unawakened FI, does not want to be alone under any circumstances. Cannot quantify the concept of being alone. Not like a lone wolf, such as myself, that has awakened FI. But anyway, like it's their worst fear. Worst fear. So how it works is that's why the whole dominance plays in, especially with this group of individuals. And I'm not going to spell the whole entire name. Yes, if you come across an ESTP or an ST narc, oh boy, ST narc, oh boy, oh boy, oh man, oh man. So, like I said, this then if it's a ST narc, oh then you can multiply this times 50 million. You can multiply this times 50 million. You can multiply this by 50 million. Okay? You can multiply all those by 50 million. So they definitely come into play. You're talking about if somebody, like, have you heard this? If you're in a marriage or in a relationship, somebody wants to go out at 8 or 9 p.m. for whatever. This guy kicks in how? Oh, why are you going out so late? Why do you have to go out so late? Where are you going? You will have to tell them everything you're doing, word for word. They will have to know as to calm down their NE, chaos senses. You would have to. You would have to. Because if you don't, they will freak out the whole time you're gone. And if you and forbid, I mean, heaven forbid, if you're gone for a couple hours and you don't communicate with them, good luck. I mean, and this is we're not saying, we're saying in a sense where the person's probably at the arcade for 3 4 hours, or they're hanging out with their friends. Literally, truthfully, they're with friends. So, but if this person has these issues, you will encounter these things. You will encounter them. And like I've said, if you are unawakened in a relationship, if you're unawakened in a relationship, this is all you're going to do to the other person is project your shadow's crap onto the other person. That is 90% of relationships today. Well, that's 99% of relationships today. Everybody is just projecting their shadows onto each other, calling it this, because I don't have enough room, calling it this, love, calling it that. When it's actually, you're just soothing these. I got a lot of arrows. I really hope you can keep up with me. So you have to provide, it's not love, it's not trust. It's the other person soothing, feeding information for the SI to ease their NE. To somebody like me, that's not love. That is control. That is control. That is another word. This word. Y'all know, y'all see what I'm getting at. Y'all see what I'm getting at. Y'all see what I'm getting at. That's what it is. It's not love. No, it's not love at all. Not at all. So, like I said, the thing is, these things are at play as well, but also in family dynamics. Okay, family dynamics, and I probably good. I think the family dynamic is probably the last thing I need to touch on, and then we'll conclude. So, another word as far as a family dynamic is this. I hope I have enough time. I should. And I can explain what the word means. Look it up. But in this type of dynamic, say if you have a mother or father that's an ST or something like that, or both of them, this in that type of family dynamic, this is at play. This dynamic, the SINE dynamic, and this dynamic, both. Okay, so say if everybody in the family and the narc family, oh, we're not going to deal with our inner wounds. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to pretend like they're not there. Okay. So that's this control dynamic. Okay. That's this control dynamic at play. This is an unwritten, unsaid, invisible rule. We're not going to do that. But if you have somebody like this that comes along and sees the forest through the trees, then guess what that disrupts? That disrupts this dynamic right here. Okay, you're bringing some ne in. Like I said, SI likes to maintain their routine, their habits, what the person does every single day of their life, every single day. Anything that comes in and disturbs that, oh, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a big problem, like such as somebody like this. That's going to be a problem if they're seeing that this is not what it is, that it's actually this, and it's more or less you're only loved if you adhere to the rules. That's more or less how it works. And if you don't, like I said, there's going to be a problem. Then you go and you change into somebody like this. Da, da, da. You turn into one of these. One of my favorite words. So instead of everybody dealing with their own inner wounds and trauma and past, you know, trauma, whatever, like I said, they're just going to blame that person for being or disrupting the dynamic. That's how it works. Okay. And in some cases, like I said, this power dynamic doesn't like that very much, as it is the mediator, it is the warden, and it's not going to want anybody else to step in and be a warden. That's not how ESTP works. That's not how this SENI dynamic works, not one bit. So, yes, you're going to be a problem to everybody. You're going to be a problem to everybody. So, um, Yeah, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover about this dynamic here. Sorry it took so long, but I got some really good. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to say. There's one thing I wanted to say. It's the reason why they have to have the dynamic in the first place. And this is the reason. This is the reason. That all has to be because, and I may go over now, but it's because they don't have this. It's because they don't have this. As we or awakened and I does not need to control. We don't need to do any of that because we get our intuitions from above. And if you can get what I mean, well, I can only speak for myself because I am a Christian and I know where all of this derives from. You know, like I said, NI is this. NI has a direct line to this. When it's awakened, let me repeat, when it's awakened, direct line to this. Yes. Yes. So this is why these guys have to have a control dynamic in the first place because they don't have this, they don't have the vision, that they don't have this. So they have to basically be security cameras. Their SE, their SI has to be security cameras at all times. That's why you have to give them SI detail. When you, what time you're leaving, what are you going to go do, what time do you have to be back, blah 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 blah. Because they don't have the vision to know or the intuition to know or be able to tell that the person is just going to go with their friend or they're just going to go to the arcade. Now, I'm not saying that this case is 100% of the time. Of course, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, if you have strong NI or awakened NI, you will know if somebody's doing something nefarious behind your back. You're going to know before they're even trying to go out and do anything. You're going to see it all. You're going to be able to see everything. So again, there would be no reason for an NI dom to even, this doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't even need this. So like all this, but like I said, sensors need it for that reason. They don't have vision. They don't have that. So they have to compensate. That's the word. They have to compensate. That is what SI and SE is. That's why they have to do that because they have to compensate for not having any NI. With this, they have to compensate with this and with this. So, yeah, I think that this is the point I wanted to make, or the final one. I think I've gotten all my information in these two videos. So, I hope this was informative. Thank you guys for tuning in. 70 Severance, signing out.